This is Business Decoded podcast with Ronnie Spellman. An informal chats with top business moguls as they share their stories of failure and success in a fun and relaxed way. Get entertained, educated, and unlock the secrets to success.
Welcome to the Business Decoded podcast with Ronnie Spellman. I am here with a very special guest, Rabbi Shaya Fox. Welcome to Business Decoded.
Great to be here. This is awesome.
And you're the Chief Executive Officer of the Dallas Area Torah Association, otherwise known as DATA.
Correct.
What is it? So we've been at a lot of business events, so I want to preface that, and I'm sure people are wondering, why do you have a rabbi on the program? One, you're brilliant. You have an entrepreneurial spirit. You grew up in an entrepreneurial family, and seeing you operate at the different businesses, you're guiding business leaders, helping them and coaching them through their business journey, just from a spiritual and a balanced perspective. But you're absolutely a brilliant young leader. I say you're younger than I am, but brilliant young leader with some amazing ideas. And I wanted to have you on the program just to tell us your journey and to help other people reconnect with some of their values and their business and their concepts. And as people look to leave their legacy on the world, I just thought you'd be a wonderful guest on the program.
I'm so happy to be here. I appreciate the opportunity. I value the opportunity because I love talking to people. I love you as a person. I love connecting with every type of person, Jews and non-Jews. And I'd love to spread the word of my ideas, concepts, experiences. And if I make one person better from this podcast, it's worth it.
So I love it. So how did you become Chief Executive Officer? I think you're the youngest or one of the youngest to become the CEO of the organization. How did that occur? You're now leading an operation that's heavily vested in the Dallas community, and you're making a lot of movement. You're making a lot of progress. You're meeting, as I mentioned earlier, with a lot of wonderful business owners to build those partnerships and support, and you're providing a lot of opportunities for the community here in Dallas. But how did you become CEO and why?
Yeah. So I joined, I lived in Israel after I got married for about 4 years.
Okay.
And then there was an opportunity to work for the organization, DATA, as a junior rabbi, which just means we study and we teach, but not in an administrative role.
Sure.
And then it was interesting, over time, I started stepping up in different ways. I saw different problems, different challenges. I just helped. And over time, there was also the organization was struggling. About a 26, 27-year-old organization. Wow. As we business owners know that there's something called founder's syndrome.
Right.
Which is that it starts as a mom and pop organization, company, and then over time, it doesn't make the adjustment. As it grows in certain ways, it doesn't grow in other ways. And what ends up happening is that the growth is stunted and then begins to go down. If you're not growing, you're shrinking. Right. And that's what happened to the organization. So I was in the right place at the right time. And I grew up in a home, which we'll get to more about. I grew up in a home that had that entrepreneurial spirit, right, and problem solving and wanting to step up. And when I stepped up, I had no intention of becoming the CEO. Right. That wasn't my life plan. But it was an opportunity that came my way. And what excites me the most is when your abilities overlap with big needs, right, for the community, Jewish community particularly. And that's what's most exciting for me, is that I like to do what's not being done. Right. I would rather not compete with, if the other people are flocking to do a certain type of job, I'd rather do a different job.
Right. How did you get that kind of inspiration though inside of you? I know you mentioned growing up in a entrepreneur family, but how did you know that it was okay and the time was right for you to step into the CEO role?
Right. So I will say very bluntly that I struggled a lot with this. Like, I'm too young. When I took over, I was 32 years old. I'm like, I'm a little baby. I don't know anything. I could act all confident and speak nicely and pretend, but I don't really know what I'm doing. But I went to mentors, I spoke with people, and I slowly built the confidence that no, you're in the place that you're supposed to be.
Nice.
From a spiritual perspective, which obviously I'm a rabbi, I'm a spiritual person. God put you here, and God also gave you the abilities that you're in. Doesn't mean you don't need to develop them. Doesn't mean you don't need to try very hard. It doesn't mean you won't fail, but you're in the right place at the right time. The organization wants you to step into this role, and you've somewhat proven already that you have certain capabilities, and therefore go for it and just jump in. And it took me time, and I'm still, it's never like black and white where you just turn on the switch. It's a lifetime of building confidence, and then a different issue comes up, and I'm like, okay, for this topic, I'm still a rookie.
Right.
I could be doing the job for 5 years. So many of the issues and problems and things that come up on a regular basis, I've dealt with before.
Right.
But then a new problem comes up, and for that, I'm back to being a rookie again.
Sure.
And I think that a lot of these concepts are things that could come up in the business world as well, not just nonprofit. And I think there's tremendous overlap between the two.
Right.
And so that's the way I became the CEO. I just kind of just became the CEO, and it just happened over time. And
you know what's neat though to hear you say that I've been having to work with a lot of CEOs on is that your confidence wasn't so much so that you weren't willing to ask for help and guidance as a leader. So to ask for guidance from other leaders to say, this is an area that might not be my strength. I am willing to hear and to learn from you. I think so many people struggle with when to make that ask for help and when not to. So it's amazing that you were able to lean on people.
So that is a value actually that we grew up with, that I think that it really affects this point, which is that we grew up in a community that was very much into asking for help, asking your rabbinic leadership for guidance,
right?
Whether that's in life, spiritual, marriage, children. There's a rabbi who you seek advice from, at least one,
right.
Maybe many. So I think it's somewhat built into the culture. I'm not saying that's the only reason, but I think that there is a component of that it's part of our culture that you seek advice from people. And I see it also that people who join our community who didn't grow up that way, meaning people that grew up secular or not even Jewish at all and convert, they struggle in this area of consulting with the rabbi. Like, I'm 40, I'm 50, I'm 60. I'm built up in life. People come to me for advice. I should go to the rabbi for advice. The answer is there's different compartments.
Right. In
certain areas, again, you're very experienced and people should be coming to you. But in other areas, you should be going to someone else who can even be younger than you.
Right. It was I was just processing this in your thought. So we've been around one another at quite a few events, and then I came to your office because I wanted to learn. And we sat there, and it was fascinating for me to sit in your office and kind of learn. I took a tour of your building, and it was enlightening. And my thought is people should take an opportunity to learn something that they do not learn. And this was one of those opportunities for me. So I'm glad that you're here. Tell our listener, what is Data? What does it do? What's the purpose of the organization, and how do you go about achieving that purpose?
Sure. So Dallas Area Torah Association has been around for 33 years here in Dallas, only in Dallas, nowhere else in America. And it's focused in on the Jewish community and helping inspire people to take their religion more seriously, to be the best they can in their religion. They should be constantly growing in their Jewish identity, roots, observance. Although I'm personally Orthodox, we service the entire Jewish community. Our mission is not to make people Orthodox per se. Our mission is that people should be growing in their Judaism, no different than in the world today. Everyone understands they have to be health conscious.
Yes.
And more recently, mental health conscious.
Right.
And what I would like to create is a movement of being more spiritually health conscious.
Okay.
Is that, and I think in America, it's a critical value of constantly growing. And obviously we're focused in on, I'm not, no apologies. We're focused in on the Jewish community. But I think even to expand it to the broader community, I think it's very important. And any opportunity I have to inspire even Christians to take their religion more seriously and to pray and to work on themselves and become better people, I do, even though that's not our organizational mission.
Right.
So I will say is that, so what do we have? What does our programming look like to accomplish that? So we have a base in basically Preston 635 area near there. And we have classes, we have social events, Shabbat dinners, friendship, one-on-one study sessions, a lot of Dallas Area Torah Association. Torah, I think many people will know, many don't know. Torah is the Jewish Bible, is the Old Testament, what Christians would call the Old Testament. We don't have a New Testament, so ours is just the Bible and just the Torah. And the Torah is expansive beyond belief. And we very much believe in studying it, using it as a guide for life. It's eternal. It's an eternal book. It's absolute truth. It's God's word. And therefore, it should be, and it is, our guide for life. And by studying it, you become a smarter, better person, more aligned with God. And more aligned with God means you're in a better place.
Right.
And so that's really what we do, is we try to inspire Jews for their sake. We're not like, we don't personally gain from it. It's just a mission that we know that it's in everyone's best interest. If you're from a Jewish background, you're from Jewish lineage, then the best thing for you is to be connected to God, be connected to the Torah, and have the opportunities. And the nice thing is that we're not judgmental. We're very, very loving of every single person that comes to us. And wherever they are, we have something for them.
Right.
No matter the age or the background, no matter which subdivision within Judaism they associate with, it's irrelevant to us. The main thing is, if you want to be attached to your Judaism, if you want to be growing in your Judaism, we'll find something for you.
Right. And part of our conversation when I was at your office and when I've seen you at other events, so these other events were non-events specific to Jewish. They were general business events. And I've seen you in action, and you were inclusive of everyone, whether they were Jewish or not. You didn't ask any questions. You didn't make any judgments. You just put your arms around everyone, and you were a partner in that conversation. And most of them were business topics, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So I really enjoy meeting people, talking to people, seeing how I can help them, make introductions. I love that. And that's what I love about my job. And that's why I really believe that God put me here for that reason. Originally, my
podcasts are so popular, even monkeys are doing it.
75% of Americans listen to podcasts monthly. That's 210 million people in the United States alone. And yes, podcasts are profitable. Joe Rogan is making $30 million per year. Your content, your knowledge is worth sharing. Don't just dream it, do it. Visit andycostafilms.com/podcast and turn your content into leads.
Career trajectory was heading towards something which would have been a lot more finite, a lot more limited. And I wouldn't have had this ability to be out there and connecting with people and being on podcasts and speaking to people, inspiring. And I'm so happy where I am right now because I have that ability to be broader and to be spreading the ideas of what we do, bringing people into it, helping people. And it's just a wonderful thing. I'll tell you, I know that this is a business. I recently was involved with setting up two people, a buyer and a seller. Someone had a property. Right. I know that someone was not happy in New York with the real estate market, right? Without getting political. And they wanted to move some assets over to Dallas. And I don't know the first thing about real estate, but I do know something about connecting with people. Right. So I put two and two together, and they're in the middle of negotiating.
That's fantastic.
I didn't realize it takes that long, but say it's been a bunch of months, and every couple of days, every couple of weeks, I'll text him, "What's going on?" He's like, "This is real estate for you." Right. Like this is not like buying a a hammer at Lowe's. This is a big deal, right? This is millions and millions of dollars. So that's exciting. Getting those things or helping people get a job. Sure. Done a few of those, just putting two people together. And
right.
But those are all side benefits. That's not our mission. Our mission is to inspire Jews and to help them in any way we can, to help that they should just be better and growing and maximizing their Judaism,
right?
Their connection to God.
33 years ago when the organization was created, the only one in the United States you mentioned. Why was
the data as a brand is only in Dallas.
Correct.
There are other organizations that do similar things in other areas. I just want to be clear.
Yeah. Yep. No, absolutely. I think that's a good point. Why was there a need here in Dallas? Like, were people moving away from their origin, their purpose, their history? What was the need then, and why does the need exist today?
Great question. There was many Jewish families living here in Dallas, and what happened was that one of them was going to move back to Dallas and live near his family. And his rabbi said, if you're moving back to Dallas, which had some Jewish infrastructure, but it was very, very limited.
Right.
And said, if you're going to move back, you've got to build Torah. You've got to spread Torah. You can't just go back to a place that doesn't have such strong Judaism. If you're going to go back there, then you've got to build. And he took that on himself, and he started Dallas Area Torah Association.
Okay.
And to this day, it's one of the most important organizations for the Jewish community in terms of bringing rabbis in. We have 23 rabbis on staff.
Oh, wow.
And each one in their own way doing great work. Some are doing more advanced studies. Some are doing more outreach, people who are not really involved. And many of those rabbis from the past have graduated and moved on to either be in other organizations within the city, other schools, or other Jewish organizations as a rabbinic figure, and others have moved into business. It doesn't. Sure. You don't have to be a rabbi forever. There's no lifetime commitment.
Right.
So in many ways, our organization has been very involved with building the community. There are many other institutions in town that were started because of rabbis from Data that wanted to move on and do something else and build. And they started a synagogue or a different organization. We also have divisions in Plano and Richardson. Also, same idea, rabbis that wanted to go out on their own. And so they started their own division of Data in Plano, Data of Plano, Data of Richardson. And that's so just spreading Torah, and our mission is to inspire the Jewish people.
How large is the Jewish community in the Dallas region?
I'm not so well informed. From what I've Googled,
yes,
there's 40 to 50,000, and the DFW area, they say 70 to 80.
Okay.
But that's just from Google. I don't really know, honestly.
So
there's plenty of Jews around to inspire, and our organization is no shortage of work to do and plenty of room for growth.
Right.
We haven't yet maxed out the market's not maxed out yet. Right.
So as you start to lay out your foundation, I think you described it as Data 2.0, as you've looked to try to take the organization to the next level.
Sure.
What does that look like for you?
So when we had this situation of founder syndrome, so I came in, and there was a challenge because you had the people who have been involved since the beginning. And I came in with some new ideas and fresh ideas as an insider, but also an outsider, because I was there already for 5 years in the organization. And my style of leadership is to collect others' ideas. I'm not necessarily coming up with most of the ideas myself.
Sure.
What I'm doing is I'm asking people and then cutting and pasting, formulating a plan, and then CEO, Chief Executive Officer, Chief Execution Officer.
Right.
My, style of leadership is to gather ideas and then execute. And that's I would say is that my skill set is in the area of execution, getting it done, figuring it out, and not necessarily coming up with the ideas. So that's where that's my style of leadership.
Right.
And So yeah, but it is hard when you come into an existing organization to bring out change. And again, something else that really connects very well to many businesses this way. I know many children that come into the family business. They come in, on the one hand, shut up, Mr. Know-it-all.
Right.
Right. On the other hand, they're coming in with a fresh mindset, and they're very likely to be bringing some good ideas. They know the new fads. They're more, in tune with the younger generation, which is always important for every business, is to not get stuck with only your age group or older, but also you need to bring in youth for that. So that was a challenge, but we maneuvered it quite well, and thank God we're in a very good place. We've had growth. We had to initially deal with a lot of cleanup from that founder syndrome, sort of certain things that got neglected over the years. But the founders are the most amazing people.
Yeah.
And they did an incredible job, something that I couldn't have done, which is founding it. Yes. I'm coming in to an existing organization with so many assets and so much infrastructure already there,
right,
and just improving on it. And I feel like my job is a lot easier than what theirs was in founding it and building it from scratch.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point you make, because so many of the companies that are founded, let's say that they are invested in or acquired by private equity, a lot of those founders don't make it through that acquisition just because it's a different talent needed. But you're right, being a founder in a company is just special. It takes a level of gumption and commitment and sacrifice that is just hard. And to keep it going to success is just a complicated process.
That was one of my biggest challenges, was figuring out how to balance respect for the founders,
right,
and the people that are there before me, with also needing to push change.
Right.
That was a very big challenge, because I'm a very respectful person, especially in the rabbinic field. Rabbis who could be my parents, right?
Right.
You're talking about, and in certain ways, much greater than I am spiritually.
Right.
But I'm coming in, and I still have a job to do, and I can't let respect get in the way of growth and changes.
Right.
On the other hand, there's never an excuse to be disrespectful.
Right.
So you have to balance that. And that's hard and always a challenge. And I can't say I was always perfect in it. But tried my best, definitely.
So, Rabbi, tell me about your journey. You grew up in New York. We're in New York. You grew up in a family of 8 kids. Tell us about...
So I grew up on Long Island in a Orthodox Jewish family. My father is a very prestigious doctor, dermatologist in New York, Dr. Joshua Fox. And he built up a very, very successful practice, dermatology practice, and entrepreneurial. Remember growing up, he was barely ever home. Over the years, he adjusted that to his own, as a compliment to him.
Right.
How he changed over time to allocate more time for the family and for his own personal growth, Judaism-wise and other. But yeah, we grew up in a I didn't grow up in a rabbinic family. My father's not a rabbi, but he sent us to Jewish schools, elementary schools, high schools,
nice,
post high school studying schools where you study a lot of Talmud and deep Torah study, and they insisted I get a college degree, so I have a business college degree, actually.
Okay.
I can't say I remember that much from it, but I do have it.
You go to school in New York then?
I did. I went to, it was actually New Jersey, Fairleigh Dickinson's.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have a college degree, and so that's the way I grew up. So all Jewish. The Jewish schools have secular studies, just like public schools and secular schools have secular studies. It's just combined with some more of an intense schedule, and they leave off some of the extracurricular secular activities. That's in terms of the Jewish schools, but they have all the basics and history, language arts,
sure,
sciences, and so I was always open-minded to becoming a doctor. And at some point I had to, make some decisions, and I really thought it through, and certain life experiences that gave me tastes of success as a person who can inspire others, I think set the tone for me for I see this as being my calling in life. And that's where I had that. I will say that my parents, certainly my father, was disappointed.
Okay.
And which was always hard. But I will say is that, and again, to his credit, that disappointment of not following in his footsteps and taking over the business, for that matter, quite a successful one, was, to his credit, he came around to it. And now he takes so much pride in what I'm doing. He tells all his friends. Sometimes it's uncomfortable for me because I'm not a person that advertises everything I do.
Right.
But for him, it's good, and let him get his Jewish pride and his child's pride. And we call it in Hebrew, nachat, which is Jewish pride. Okay. And you get pride from your child, what he's accomplishing, for the Jewish people.
Right.
I will say that on a financial level, it's an interesting, thing to bring up.
Sure.
I'm sure your listeners would appreciate is I could have been living a much more lavish life, a comfortable, lavish lifestyle had I gone in the path of a doctor and taken over the practice.
Right.
And as even chief executive officer, it sounds very prestigious.
Right.
And running a big organization, but anyone who's in the nonprofit world, and certainly our nonprofit is there's not extra money laying around, and it's not one of these. We're not Harvard with a $20 billion fund.
Sure.
And so I'm making it, but I'm not in it for the money at all. And on the contrary, when I'm speaking to donors, for example, and I challenge them to give something significant, I tell them, I'm not asking you to do something that I didn't do myself.
Okay.
Besides the fact that I give my own 10%, a good portion of it to our organization. So I'm giving.
Right.
But my 10% is not their 10%. At least
Sure.
those are not the people I'm looking to speak with. But I'm giving up. I could easily be earning 200, 300, 400 using the same skill set that I'm using to fundraise and build up, and vision and management and hiring and all those same skill sets. I could be using that in the business world and be earning a very substantial salary. Both my father and my father-in-law, for that matter, are, from very successful, families, both me and my wife.
Right.
And we could have taken that path, and we chose this path, which is fulfillment, mission, life calling. And obviously you need to make money just to live, but that's by far not the main motivation in our work.
So you mentioned your father. What's your father's journey? How did he get into the medical industry and business?
Sure. So he grew up in Dayton, Ohio.
Okay.
Very, very small Jewish community. His father was the rabbi there for 50 years.
Oh, wow.
So I guess it wasn't 100% accurate when I said I don't come from a rabbinic family. I should say my father and my immediate parents are not rabbinic, but one generation before that was rabbinic.
Okay.
So he was in charge of a very, big, prestigious synagogue in Dayton, Ohio. My father grew up there. My father's mother would drive them to Cincinnati to attend a Jewish school for many years until they started their own in Dayton, Ohio.
Right.
But definitely grew up with very strong Jewish roots and more sacrifice than most have to live with in order to live a Orthodox Jewish life, keeping kosher and synagogue and whatnot. It's harder living in Dayton, Ohio, where there's much, much, much less Jewish infrastructure.
Sure.
That being said, I think it helped build him who he is, that he had to make that sacrifice. Something that you have to sacrifice for becomes much more of a part of you.
Right.
And as opposed to something that you inherit or that you just have. So he owned it, and did his siblings, and they all are living very strong Jewish lives today.
Nice.
Despite, or maybe because of, the fact that they grew up in a hick town, Dayton, Ohio.
How did they end up in Long Island from Dayton? Ohio?
He went to school in
Okay.
medical school in New York, and just ended
Just
up
stayed.
on Long Island as a nice place to live, and a Jewish community there, and synagogues and kosher food.
I don't think I realized you spent 4 years in Israel.
Yeah.
Now, what took you to Israel, and what was that experience like?
Yeah. So every Jew has this dichotomy going on,
Right.
which is we live in America, and America is our homeland, and we are forever appreciative of, as is any person, and certainly minority groups that suffered it for the thousands of years throughout the generations in other countries. And here you have a country that embraces you and that has freedom, and you could practice as you practice and be successful as anyone else. And so we're extremely appreciative, and this is our home. We also have a spiritual home, which is Israel. And there's no contradiction there at all. And it's a beautiful place to visit, to live in if you can. And even if not on a permanent level, certainly on a temporary level. And that's what me and my wife decided to do, is that we always knew that we were planning on moving back to America.
Right.
But we knew we wanted to spend a few years there just to take in the holiness, the vibe, the atmosphere, the culture, and the spiritual, just radiance of the land there is just incredible. And we lived in Jerusalem, so we were in the hub.
Okay.
Right in the hub. And it was an incredible stage of our lives that we were able to do it, to not have a large family. We had one son while we were living in Israel. And when we moved back, we had 2 more children here in Dallas. But living in Israel was amazing. And my heart yearns to go back for visits. Okay. And I'd love to live there. But that itself is a, tug of war between where's my mission in life and where do I maximize my mission versus
and your impact.
Impact and family is also a big part of it. It's very, very difficult to live in Israel when the rest of your broader family live away, and culturally it's different.
Right.
So, not as bad or good, just different.
Right.
And so it also makes it somewhat challenging to live there in a permanent way.
Right.
But we did it for 4 years, and that was amazing.
That is cool.
And so
we're at the end of our program, but I want you back on the program. I'd love to have you when you come back to talk more about your experience in Israel, because I think that is insightful for those that are non-Jewish and Jewish, just to learn what it was like for 4 years. Love to talk more about your business ideas and you coaching business leaders and your core values that we've discussed before. And then I'd love to get some insight on what Orthodox represents and non-Orthodox on our next program.
Sure.
But I can't believe our time has gone so quickly. But this has been such a great learning experience for me. I don't think you know this, but my youngest daughter, when she was little, her first school was Temple Bethel.
Wow.
And so she attended school there. And then I am a member of the J.
That's awesome.
Not that's a significant part of being in the community. And it doesn't make me an expert by any means, but
one thing I would want to get through to your listeners is that point, which is I'm Orthodox Jew. I might look a little bit different because the way I dress, and I wear a kippah, yarmulke on my head.
Yes.
And I have a beard, and I wear like a suit everywhere I go. And usually I'm wearing a tie. I just decided to be a little more chilled out. Today's Friday, so but we're loving people. We love all Jews, and for that matter, all people, and with tremendous respect, willingness to help, willingness to partner, willingness to meet, and it's just, I think it's critical that I'm happy that you learned a lot, and I hope that your listeners do as well.
I love it. Appreciate you joining us.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us on Business Decoded with Ronnie Spellman.
Thank you for listening to Business Decoded podcast with Ronnie Spellman. Please be sure to subscribe and share, and stay tuned for more incredible Business Decoded episodes.